why did the Egyptians despise shepherds? I don't know. But they did. And God foreknew that. And God used that, because if they would not have despised the shepherds, the same thing would have happened, which happened to Dinah in Sichem. You know, nations will be solved up into other nations. It goes very fast. And God has a special plan for Israel. The Messiah had to be born out of Israel. Salvation is of the Jews. And so God had to deal with them in a very special way. He had to nourish them, keep them secure and safe, so that they grow up into a country, into a nation, so that will ultimately bring the seed of Joseph into this world. Now, Joseph took care of his family first. In Romans 1:16, we go now to the preaching of the gospel, but never forget it, Romans 1:16, Paul says these words in Romans 1:16, I am not ashamed of the gospel, it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes. And what is the power of God? Jesus died according to the scriptures. Jesus was buried according to the scriptures. Jesus rose according to the scriptures. That's the most important thing. That's the gospel. And he says in Romans 1:16, for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. In chapter 2 of Romans, it says, in chapter 2, verse 9, when the judge comes, he will judge the Jewish people first. Why? Because they have received more light than the nations. The more privileges, the more responsibility. After school, you are counted more responsibility because you have received more knowledge than before you came to school. And so Joseph dealt with his family. They are safe and sound in Goshen, multiplying in the best part of the land. But now what about the nations? What about the Gentiles? Let's just look at that in chapter 47, verse 14. Joseph gathered all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the grain which they brought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money was all spent in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, give us food, for why should we die in your presence? For our money is gone. So you can see the first thing that Joseph requests from the people is their money. It's a great revival when you become free from the love of money. Some people, they knew what to do when the war started. They were warned, some Jewish people, but they didn't leave their home because they had a wonderful position and they had a wonderful life and they had much money and they could not let go of it. Once I saw this movie of the Titanic, there was this man throwing money around, trying to do things with money. But then all of a sudden, somebody threw the money back to him, because the money will not help you when the ship is sinking. But for some people, money is their God. I know, because I live in Holland. And every time when the news comes, they speak about the economy. They speak about money. And many people are hooked to money. You know, money can give you a bed, but it can't give you sleep. You get from money what money can do. So, you cannot get everything from money. And now here, these Egyptians had given away all their money, and received food. And now they say to Joseph, please give us more food. We don't have money anymore. Can you see how important food is? You know how the Antichrist in the future will reign? When there is a time of starvation. He will get control and get the people into slavery when the people are hungry. In the Second World War, you can see all the movies. They first put the Jewish people in France in a big stadium. Let them sit there for 5 days, 4 days, without hardly any water, without any food. So they were dull. They were just like zombies because they were starving. And so they could do with them what they wanted. And this is exactly what happened. Just imagine yourself. You don't have food. And you want to give everything. And you have no more money. So they came desperate to Joseph. The Gentiles came in desperation to Joseph. And look what happens here. Verse 16. Then Joseph said, give up your livestock, and I will give you food for your livestock, since your money is gone. So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them food in exchange for the horses and the flocks and the herds and the donkeys. And he fed them with food in exchange for all their livestock. When that year was ended, they came to him the next year and said to him, we will not hide from my Lord that our money is all spent and the cattle are my Lord's. There is nothing left for my Lord except our bodies and our lands. Why should we die before your eyes? Both we and our land, buy us and our land for food, and we and our land will be slaves to Pharaoh. So give us seed that we may live and not die, and that the land may not be desolate. So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. For every Egyptian sold his field, because the famine was severe upon them. Thus the land became Pharaoh's. As for the people, he removed them to the city from one end of Egypt border to the other. Only the land of the priests he didn't buy, for the priests had an allotment from Pharaoh. And they live of the allotment which Pharaoh gave them. Therefore they did not sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, behold, I have today bought you and your land for Pharaoh. Now here is seed for you, and you may sow the land. So, what is happening here? Always think Jesus. Joseph receives their money. Joseph receives their livestock. Joseph receives their land. Joseph receives their body. Joseph receives everything. They are totally dependent on him. And that is who has to study Romans 12. Yes, that's the application of Romans 12. The Gentiles, step for step, had to let go of all their crutches until they depended totally on Joseph. And Joseph gave everything to Pharaoh. He didn't put anything in his own pocket. It was all for Pharaoh. It was all for Pharaoh. In this setting, Pharaoh is a picture of God. Joseph is a picture of Jesus. And it's like a gift to the Father. The Father and the Son are in such harmony. You know how the Lord Jesus cried tears with blood in the Garden of Gethsemane? It was not because he was facing the scorching. It was not because he was facing the nails. It was because he was facing separation from his Father. He knew that after 3 hours, the separation would be solved again. But just the thought of being separated from his Father for 3 hours, it made him sweat blood. And he says, if it is possible, let this cup pass over. But not my will, but your will be done. The great battle was fought in the Garden of Gethsemane, where he faced separation from his Father. Now here, as a shadow picture, we see the unity between Pharaoh and Joseph. And Pharaoh blesses Joseph and his family. And Joseph blesses Pharaoh. and all the money, and all the livestock, and all the land, and all the people became the possession of Pharaoh. But then we see that they don't take advantage of the people, but that they bless the people and give them new hope, and that they trust the people. Let's read it in verse 26. Joseph made it a statute concerning the land of Egypt valid to this day, that Pharaoh should have the fifth, only the land of the priests didn't come for Pharaoh. Now, Israel lived in the land of Egypt in Goshen. They acquired property in it and were fruitful and became very numerous. So, what did I... okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean 25. I had to go to 25. So they said, you have saved our lives. Let us find favor in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's slaves. They were so thankful for the way that Joseph dealt with them, because their lives were saved. And Joseph gave them seed. Only a fifth of the harvest they should give as taxes to Pharaoh. So they received a new life after they had given up everything. When they would not have given up everything, they would have died of starvation. But after they gave up everything, Joseph came back by giving them seed, by giving them hope, and by giving them a life. Isn't this beautiful? Joseph cared for his Jewish family, and Joseph cares for the Gentile people. But they had to come to him and surrender all. And this is the gospel. Today, there is no difference between Jew and Gentile. We are all one in Christ Jesus. But what does he require? He requires from us that we give him everything. Let's just read Romans 12, 1 and 2. Romans 12, 1 and 2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect. You see, here we see total surrender, but also total life, total hope, total joy, total thankfulness. And so let's go back now to Genesis 47. We'll just have a look at the death of Jacob again in verse 29 of chapter 47. When the time for Israel to die drew near, he called his son Joseph and said to him, please, if I have found favor in your sight, place now your hand under my thigh and deal with me in kindness and faithfulness. Please do not bury me in Egypt. But when I lie down with my fathers, you shall carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burial place. And he said, I will do as you have said. He said, swear to me. So he swore to him. Then Israel bowed in worship at the head of the bed. And so he died in chapter 50, verse 1. Then Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. In Hebrews 11, there's a beautiful verse about the man who died in faith, and Jacob is one of them. And I love this verse for myself also. By faith, Jacob, as he was dying, blessed each of the sons of Joseph and worshipped, leaning on the top of his staff. His staff was constantly a sign that he depended on the strength of this staff. You see, the Lord had blessed him, but the Lord had also made him cripple in the river. And Jacob had said, I don't let you go until you bless me. And he was blessed. He received a new name, Israel. And even with this limp, he was blessed. And he died with this limp. But how did he die? He died worshiping. Oh, it is my prayer that we will all die in faith. That we will all run the race until the end. Now, I have a little movie from you. We were recently in Australia. And we met a family. And the first thing that I saw from this family was that the father was sitting in church with a handicapped boy, and he had to run out of the church because the boy had gone to the toilet. And so that was quite an event. And then I came to know the people, and it just so happened that this handicapped boy has 4 sisters. And 3 of them are very good swimmers, and 2 of them even made it to the Olympics. And one of the sisters, Campbell sisters, got gold. And they won from Holland. And they won from America. And so this is a believing family. So we did a little interview with them. And let's just see what happens, yeah? Well, here we are, Linda and me, in Australia, Brisbane. And last Sunday I spoke in a church. And in the church was a family, Campbell. It's a wonderful family that we got to know. And 2 of their daughters are very fast swimmers, Bronte and Kate. Kate even got it as far on the Olympics to get herself a gold medal. They were willing to come and be interviewed this afternoon. So, Katie and Bronte, we've got some questions for you. First of all, I'll give you back your medal. Put it on your neck because you deserve it.
Thank you.
And,
no, that's not true.
My first question is, how was it to be part of the Olympics?
Part of the Olympics, it's amazing. It's the biggest show on earth that there is. Once every 4 years, 10,000 athletes, all in this one village, and the hype around it is so big. Everybody is just wanting to excel, to do their best, but at the same time it's all in the Olympic spirit, so it's not really rivalry. It's very, I don't know, it's very sportsmanlike the whole entire time. And the atmosphere there was just so exciting, and the volunteers in England, they made the games. They were the best. They showed you where to go. They were always smiling, making jokes, and some of them were on for 12-hour shifts, and they just never stopped being happy. It was just the best atmosphere of there.
Thank you. Well, my second question is then, of course, you, Kate, really beat the Dutch. And,
I'm sorry.
That was a shock for them. Please, can you tell us something about that race?
The girls in the heat team put us through first, so we were in lane 4. We were the underdogs. We didn't really expect to come out on top. The Dutch girls have been so dominant. They won in Beijing 2008, and they've won the relay every single year at every major international meet since then. So we really just went in hoping to do our best. Each of us 4 girls had prepared to the best of our ability, and we just decided to go in and have fun. There was no pressure on us. I guess that the pressure was all on the Dutch girls. And so we were really able just to let our hair down, metaphorically. We were all wearing swimming caps, and enjoy the race for what it was, just as a sporting event and not taking life too seriously.
Thank you very much. And now I have another question is, okay, now that you have this gold medal and people are interested in you and want to know more about you and you get new opportunities, you come from a believing family. How can you find the balance between your walk with the Lord and you being a sportswoman?
I think that having that relationship with God and Jesus has been such a blessing in this whole journey. in 2010, 2011, both Bronte and I got really sick. We got glandular fever and we couldn't compete for 2 years. We were literally going backwards and we didn't know whether we would be able to get back to the standard that we needed to be at. And I think that having that knowledge that there's someone out there who loves you more than you could even possibly imagine and has a plan for your life was really comforting. And I don't think that I would have been able to make it through as well or come out the other side as well as if I didn't have that knowledge and that security. So I found that that has been, it's just such a blessing. And I also realised that it's just sport. I've been given this ability and it's incredible and it takes a lot of hard work, but it's been a gift and I've just had to work at it. And in the end, it's not a life or death situation. If I can be a witness through my actions, then that's really the main goal, I think. And I've been blessed with success and a lovely sister to share it with.
Well, it's very unique when you have two sisters from the same family in top sport, and not only a family in top sport, also a family who shares the Lord Jesus together. And can you just tell us what the church means to you as you go out through the world swimming? Are they helpful?
Of course, it's lovely to know there's a prayer base back home in Brisbane, and you know that everyone is praying for you there. You can feel it, you can tell, and it feels great to have so many people wishing you well and actually helping you. It's not just like they're benignly hoping that you do well. They're praying for you, and it's such a great feeling. I mean, the church is always so supportive, and they're happy for you no matter what you do, basically. They're just happy that you're at the Olympics. They don't care if you don't win a gold medal, they don't care if you come last, as long as you're there and witnessing, and they just want you to do well, which is so much more than you can say for a lot of people.
This afternoon I was with your mother on one of the schools where she teaches RA classes, and I pushed a wheelchair with your younger brother who is handicapped. You are top sporters and you have a brother who needs help every day with everything. What has this done for you both?
I think it's made us stronger, hasn't it? He's pretty heavy.